Coates. I am the creative director and founder of Crispy Creative. Today is our live stream for our game, A Long Journey to an Uncertain End, a sci-fi space opera where you are the ship, jumping between planets, moons, stars, making your way across the galaxy. With me today is a very special person on our development team, one of our narrative designers, and my mother, Sherry Coates.
Hi, I'm Sherry Coates, and I'm a speech pathologist. I've been working with children and adults for over 42 years now, and I really enjoy helping kids and adults, and mostly I want to help my son with his video game. So I've learned a whole new set of skills, and I just think this is an amazing journey that we're doing together. And also, I'm a voracious reader, and so I enjoy reading a variety of books. And I am hoping I can add something to the team and with the narrative team.
And that's, one of the reasons why I was excited when you mentioned wanting to help out with the game, is not only because of your perspective on people, on disabled people and their experiences, just working with them as a speech pathologist, but like you mentioned, you are an incredibly voracious reader. I don't know. I think you're probably the one person you read more than anybody else that I know of. Even my own love of sci-fi came from you. You introduced me to the first time I watched Star Wars. Friday nights, family TV night we were watching Star Trek. So all of that experience, that sort of foundation for me in sci-fi, you were there sort of helping to define that. So that's, I was like, well, what better person to have on the team that's going to know where I'm coming from than you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was able to share the Anne McCaffrey books, The Dragon Riders of Pern, as well as the Freedom series about the planet Botany, and kind of got Kylan started in sci-fi and learning more about reading and about it. And then he was able to let me know about this author, Becky Chambers, who is a wonderful author. And so he's able to share those books with me. And just to let everyone know, I do read a lot. Last year for 2020, I read 202 books, which I read a lot during the closure and everything, but I do read a lot of books. And yes, they are chapter books because my students ask me if they're chapter books. Yes, they are. There's a few graphic novels and audiobooks thrown in, and the graphic novels are more for research for this game, to look at what else is out there. And but working with special needs kids, knowing about video games, which I had to learn because I have 3 sons and I wanted to interact with them, and I provided the comic relief when we played a game because I was not very good at it, but I did try and it did help in chatting with my students, especially my male students, about different games that were current at the time and different characters. But one of the things that I did want to share with you is that I do have a disabled cousin. He's deaf, and I was able to learn sign language in order to communicate with him very young. I was probably about 5 years old when I started learning sign language. He's a younger cousin, but it never stopped us from playing. And then later, as we got older, we took karate together. But he definitely surpassed me because he went on to get 2 black belts, traveled overseas, and did competitions, much more than I did with karate. I stopped. That wasn't for me. But I did learn very early that even if you're disabled, it will not hold you back, but you are the one that has to go forward. And I just love the character Denny, that he does not let anything hold him back, and he does a lot of things with humor in the game. So I hope you'll play the game. the long journey to an uncertain end and learn more about Denny.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's bringing up Denny. That was Denny was such an interesting character to come up with, because we were looking uh, at having some sort of we wanted not only a disabled character but this sort of roguish character who was a little bit of a jerk, a little bit of a the rest of our crew, the rest of the characters so far are pretty warm and encouraging, and I think Denny's one of the kind of foils that kind of pokes at the player a little bit. Um, I know in the demo he talks a little bit about potentially throwing a mutiny. If you haven't found that line in the demo, it's one of my favorites. Um, so yes, he's a really fun character. He's really cool, and I'm with all of these characters, we wanted to ensure that we were respectful of including representing everybody. And I know with the with your background, Sherry, and working with disabled people, that was something that you can shine a light on in our narrative meetings of like, hey, like maybe don't say that, or maybe rephrase it this way, which has been really cool. I did want to say real quick, we are on Kickstarter right now. You can play the demo. So I think we shared the link somewhere on the stream. Our fantastic community manager is behind the scenes doing all of that. But yeah, you can check us out on Kickstarter. Back us if you would like, and help us make this game. So now one of the things that we've been working on. So I know in the demo, we've kind of been continuing the demo. That's why I'm in the space station right now. But one of the things that I know you specifically worked on, Sherry, was I was going to say some of the planetary intros. Of course, we get into a really great dialogue with one of our other characters. This might actually be a character. I don't know if you can talk about her a little bit, Sherry. Is Zeke?
Yeah, she's one of my favorite characters. She's actually named after my favorite aunt, Zira, but I always called her Aunt Zeke. And my aunt was a very fun person. She was very kind and very generous, but she loved cooking and she loved giving food away. And even when finances were tight, she would always be able to come up with these fabulous meals. And I always loved going to her house. It was always so much fun. One of my earliest memories was her standing on her head, and she could do that for years. So she was my fun aunt, but she would love this character, especially the 4 arms, because she would be like, wow, look at how much I could do with 4 arms. And yeah, Zeke is one of my favorites. I do like it that she escapes into her galley and enjoys doing cooking and taking care of the crew and doing that, which I enjoy as well. I like making and baking for other people. It's a very Southern thing to take food for when a baby's born or for funerals or for birthdays or any kind of celebration. And so food is just one way that we can express love to others. And I think that's what Zeke does here. And I did want to say that with video games, words that I thought I understood the meaning, I've had to learn new meanings about it because narrative and dialogue have a different meaning in my day job than it does for this, but I'm learning to do that. And the narrative team has been very patient with me in explaining what this means now. But I hope you guys play the demo. It's a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy the different choices. That's one thing I really like about the game is that you can pick it up and put it down without a time limit on it, because I personally don't like time limits on games. And then the choices can surprise you once you complete a job and the wheel spins, you think you did great, and then it says you failed. But then there's always something else to do. So one of the things I like about this game is that you get different choices.
Well, and I know that's something we've talked a lot about during our narrative sync ups is trying to make those choices not only engaging but feel worthwhile, feel like there is something on the line. And I think that's for the outcomes, for the job outcomes you were talking about, why there is a little bit of it's part randomness in there, but you can still have some sort of control with depending on who you send out on jobs, the choices that you make, that can all affect the final outcome. And then even if the outcome doesn't turn into what you would like, you can always call in a favor if you still have favors. I actually really like the favor system. It does make me think a little bit of at least some of like the small southern towns that I grew up in, that we grew up in. Of, you know, if something goes wrong, you're like, well, look, I have a cousin over here, or like, oh, here, let me call my friend. They used to do this other thing. Here, I can help you out. To just to get things fixed up. My my grandmother, your mother, she's she's been working to sell a house that she inherited, and she was talking about having to go to the courthouse and seeing someone. She's like, oh yeah, she used to work at the courthouse. She's like, oh yeah, this person knew me here and I knew them there, and then I was there when they first started, so I know da 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 da.
Yeah.
Those connections, and that just being friendly, just knowing everybody, how that can help out.
Yes, she was definitely a working mom. So I'm actually the third generation of working moms. My grandmother, Kylan's great grandmother, worked in a cotton mill, and her weekly check that she brought home was only $20. But that helped out feeding her 5 children and all, and added to it. But my mom has always been a working mom. She was at the courthouse for over 35 years. But the young lawyers would come in and go to Miss Eva Ray because she knew how to help them look things up and help them out. And she has always believed you should help someone out when you can. That's what I grew up with, and that's what I hopefully have taught my kids to do that. But yeah, that's one of the fun things about a small town, is that you know people, and you know cousins, and oh yeah, that kind of thing. So that's good. I will say that moving from Mississippi to Louisiana and then later Texas, that we have been able to meet a variety of people from different countries and from as well as different states, and we've always been able to meet some just great characters and be able to do that. So we've expanded our small town into covering other things, but I think most people just want to help you out, and if they don't, then they're the ones that are losing out on a blessing. But I definitely believe that. I believe you do that. And I think here in the background, you can see the ship leaving the station. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So sorry. So I I know it's a really engaging story. I wanted to show a little bit of gameplay as well. So like I mentioned before, we are continuing our demo playthrough. This is our third live stream. And with that, we started out escaping from a dark site. We went to a rim world called Spacer's Folly. We just took off from this space station called Harmony 842A. And then we have our last planet, Matu, which is this big urban city world for us to head to. I know in the demo, the game's a little bit more linear than what the final game is going to be. And that was more because we had so much to show, so much narrative, so much stuff to put in, and we wanted to try to keep the demo to about a 20 to 30 minute experience. I know we kept it a little more linear for here. But yeah, we got about 40 fuel, 19 days. I think we can make it to Matu. And here's Corgi asking us to confirm. Yes, thank you, Corgi. We would like to go. And then as we're traveling, Matthias comes in asking us, all right, are you okay? What happened? For what? stage. I'm preparing, darling. Your bunk is a stage for what? So this is kind of, I don't know if you remember this. So in the demo, Matthias has turned his quarters into a stage. I don't know if you remember when I was younger in Louisiana, when I turned the bunk beds into a Mardi Gras float.
Yes, I remember that very well. So Kylan has always enjoyed drawing and art. And even as a 3-year-old, he would refuse to wear certain clothes, and I didn't know why. So I found out even as a 3-year-old, I would have to hold up the outfits in front of him. And I remember this being in the store very clearly. He was 3, he's in the stroller, and I'm holding up 2 outfits. Which one do you like? Because I knew if he didn't like the colors, he would not wear it, and I just didn't want to fight that battle. And this mom came by and she was like, "You're letting him choose?" And I go, "Yes, because if he doesn't like the colors, he won't wear it." And I just didn't realize it was because of that artistic viewpoint. But he could see colors differently than I did. And another story was Kylan, even though he liked to draw things, very young, he did not like coloring at all. He did not want to color. I love to color. I cannot draw except like a happy face, but I love to color. And I thought this would be something fun for us to do together. Well, he did not like that. He came home from kindergarten and said that one of the girls said his coloring was scribble scratch and that he did not like that. And so
those are fighting words in kindergarten. Those are fighting words. You get a black eye for that in kindergarten.
Yes, and he was very upset. Like, how dare she say this? I just don't like to color. But we colored like every night until his coloring improved, and so that never happened again. And but Kylan has always drawn things. He's always been interested in drawing, and his dad and I were able to send him to art camps as well as buy him books. And when he was 10 years old, he announced he wanted to be a cartoonist. And he had read about Walt Disney, and we took him to Disney World, and he was just fascinated with the process of it. And so he has looked in the background since he was very young. But my favorite medium that Kylan does as an artist is a pen and ink drawing. And that's what I have behind here, is a pen and ink drawing that he did of our house in Texas. So that's my favorite part. But Kylan has always been involved with art and has had some of his pictures put in the newspaper in Louisiana. And then in Texas, he actually has had one of his paintings that went to the Houston Art Show, which is a really big deal in Texas, the rodeo, the Houston Art Rodeo Show. And then he had a painting hung in the state capitol in Austin. So Kylan has always loved art and done this, and we've tried to be as encouraging as possible. But to see his ideas when he was growing up on some of these planets and some of these things, like, I remember that. I remember you drawing that. So with that.
Now that I have free range, I do all the colors, put all the colors out, bright, vibrant.
I wish I could remember that little girl's name, because we could find her now and say, look how great he's doing now.
I know, spite-driven creativity, I think, really it's a good motivator for a lot of creative endeavors. So great. I think we're gonna. I think we have like 1 or 2 questions. We're gonna go to in just a bit. Before we get into that, I did just want to remind everybody we are on Kickstarter. We're over 50% of the way towards our funding. So if you like what you see, like some of these stories, please feel free to check us out. You can check out this demo right now. It is live. And back us over there on Kickstarter. So what for the demo, what I was going to say real quick, while you're traveling in between planets, we do have different events that pop up. We're just calling them travel events right now, but this idea of things happen while you're out in the vast blackness. One of these is they went that way. An odd blip drifts in a sensor range. On closer inspection, it's an inactive decoy buoy. Squirting a quick signal off, you see the buoy duplicate your ID before boosting off in a perpendicular trajectory. And this actually gives us plus 2 days, plus a little bit more time in between our X. This was actually an idea from the movie Serenity with the Firefly series, where they take off and then you see all these different decoy buoys fly off. And I was like, we got to have an event like that in here.
Yeah. And that's one of the many shows that we enjoyed watching as a family. So growing up with 3 sons, I had to learn, like I said earlier, about video games and Star Wars, Star Trek, and all. But Firefly was one of our favorites to watch too.
For sure. And I think before this we had gotten 1 or 2 questions. I don't know if Elizabeth, if you could share some of those just about working together.
Well, what I wanted to say while she's looking that up is I was able to play the demo game, and I did my part and was able to find a bug that nobody else did. So I am hanging in there with it. So I just wanted everyone to know, no matter your age, you will love this game. It's a great game to play.
For sure. And that's, I mean, again, that perspective as someone who you're kind of introduced to games, a little bit later than for me. I grew up with y'all got me that first Nintendo, NES. I remember playing out in the garage, like on a beanbag, playing it. But my experience, my trajectory is different than your experience with games and your perspective on there. So that's why I wanted to get that unique perspective. So one of the questions that people had asked kind of before this stream was mother and son teams are pretty rare, if not unheard of in gaming. What inspired the two of you to work together? And I guess I already kind of jumped ahead. So with that, again, your unique perspective on what a long journey would look like. I know that in the game, we do talk a little bit about trauma, the player leaving this terrible relationship and coming out, but all your crew members also have their own bits of trauma that they're sort of dealing with. And trauma is not a unique thing just to people my age. It's something that everybody can sort of deal with and have their own perspectives on. And how do you sort of work through that and heal through that in your perspective? So again, you've been around a little bit longer than I have. You've seen a bit more. So having that perspective on, hey, here's some ways to sort of heal and get better is one of the reasons I wanted you to help out. After you offered, it was exciting to hear.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I told Kylan I wanted to help in any way. What my vision is I would just do research. I didn't know I was going to actually be writing for the game and helping out a little more actively than I thought. And it's exciting for me to see my words in the game and just learn all the different. I don't want to keep saying work, but it is a lot of work. But there's all different backgrounds that go into it, from the music to the artwork to the character development, and so there's a lot in there, and that's why I encourage everyone to play this demo. I think you will enjoy it, and look particularly at the artwork about that. And so I'm sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
That one phone. But what I wanted to share with you is that with the students that I work with, the disabled students and special needs students, I have had the privilege of working with their families as well. And I have always been inspired by the parents. And some parents accept that they have a disabled child and that they don't hold them back. A very good friend of mine, her first child had Down syndrome, and Liz had her in. By the time she was 3 months old, she had already contacted people and had her in that. I was able to give her different, activities to promote her language. And so when this young lady actually got to high school, she tested out of the disabled range because her mom had been so proactive and all. And so stories like that, I just love. And one of my favorite stories was from a parent of a son who had a hearing impairment, a hearing disability, and he was able to use hearing aids, and I helped him with his speech. But very nice family. And the mom told me, she said, Miss Sherry, I know you're trying to help him with his speech, but my goal is for him to be a productive part of his community. I want him to give back to his community. So instead of saying, oh, woe is me, I can't do that, she was telling her son, you can do it. Get out there and do it. And that's the same thing my aunt did. My Aunt Zeke did with her son. Like, you may not can hear, but you can still do this. And so I've seen that over and over and over with my parents. And, I could talk all day about my students and how they always inspire me. And even after this many years, I always learn something new. I will say that my status at school did rise with my students. I work now with 10 and 11-year-olds. When I told them my son had a video game studio, and so like I went up on the status list there. They thought that was really impressive. But I also was able to tell them, you're never too old to stop learning. And that's what I've enjoyed about this adventure and working with Kylan is I'm still learning. There's still more to learn out there. And so, again, I hope you play A Long Journey to an Uncertain End. It's a demo, and please back us in Kickstarter.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and I know on this project we've talked a lot about inclusivity in terms of a lot of times in the LGBTQ plus space, but also for for the disabled community, we have a disabled character who is a part of the experience. And here, speaking of, here we have Denny in his hover chair going around, and if you've seen the trailer, Denny plays a fairly prominent role in the trailer. Of he does get caught. He is a pickpocket, and I love that idea of a different way of empowering people. That Denny, he takes what he wants when he can, and being self-sufficient in that way. So yeah, here we have Denny. So in the demo, we've landed on third planet. We've been calling this our urban city world, called Matu. And I'll just go in and read just real quick. I missed it. So I already closed it. There's a planetary introduction that you wrote, actually, Sherry. So I know that was all of our planetary intros in the demo were things that you had written up, and we had iterated on.
Well, they have to play the demo so they can read them. So
exactly, yeah.
Now
to see all of that. Within seconds of the gangway ramp hitting the landing pad beneath it, Denny rushes out into onto the damp concrete below. He beams with excitement at the prospect of opportunity, and by the time he's turned his hover chair towards one thing, his attention has already shifted to another. This is more like it, baby. Finally, some serious civilization. People, markets, opportunities. So we have civilization, opportunities. What exactly is so exciting? And we can actually, I know in the past we've sort of opened it up. I don't know if anybody in any of our viewers want to help us out, pick a dialogue choice. Should ask him about civilization, ask him about opportunities. What exactly is so exciting there? I know Denny's also one of our younger characters as well. So seeing, all right, we have number 3. What exactly is so exciting? Enlighten me. What's so exciting about all this? All of it. Listen, Captain, you of all people should understand this. Don't you get frustrated being stuck inside a ship all the time? Don't you just want to get out here and live a little? Define live. I am the ship. So this, I love this response of like, don't you want to just get out? Like, I am the ship.
Yeah.
Not stuck inside the ship, Denny. I am a ship. Boss, I've been stuck in this hover chair my whole life. That hasn't stopped me from having fun with it. We're not here for fun, so what do you suggest? So I mean, just what I was saying before, Denny is one of our younger crew members. So seeing while he's traveled around a bit, there is this chance to see the universe through his eyes. You know, a lot of stuff is new to him. So seeing his perspective and also the sort of lens that he looks at things through. Which is more like, hey, it's a big, crazy, cool world. There's a lot of people I can take things from. Like, this is so exciting. Let's see. So what do you suggest? So what, should I fly into a market, into a bar? I don't know. Just do what you want to do. Doesn't that make sense? What makes you happy? What do you enjoy? And then here we're getting, again, Denny is the foil kind of poking at the player. And the player kind of maybe pushing back like, hey, like, I'm a ship. I can't really do what you do, Denny. Like, you can go wherever you want to, even if it's an hover chair. I'm a ship. I'm stuck here. I can't go anywhere. Let's see. This is the time. We're not here to have fun. What's the point of this? Let's say this isn't the time, Denny. Really, Denny? You want to talk about that right now after landing in a city the size of a planet with an APB on our heads? And then Denny, again, pushing back. As far as I understand, the APB is for you, the ship. Not for me, not Zeke or Matthias, for you. We're all in this together. What are you saying? Let's go. We're all in this together. All in this together, Denny. I thought you felt the same way. I did. At least I did until we found out about the APB. Listen, I don't want to get caught any more than you do, but at the very least, I think we deserve to know exactly what we're running from. And then here we're Denny again, starting to poke, get a little bit deeper, getting a bit into the reason of like, what is the player running from? What is this hinting at? In the game, we've talked about the reason the player is running, but the player does get to decide when or if they tell the rest of the crew what they're running from. So here, I'll open this up. This is kind of a little bit more of a bigger choice. Open this up to the chat. So you can tell Denny, like, kind of say like, look, we're not having this conversation. I don't want to tell you. Say like, push it off. Hey, I'll tell you later. Or it's kind of at the end, like, you really want to know? You really want to know what I'm running from? So we'll open up to the chat. Which one should we save to Denny? Not having this convo. I'll tell you later what you really want to know. It's kind of fun, groovy music as well. So I know one of the inspirations for the Urban City world was the movie The Fifth Element in New York City in The Fifth Element, which I think we watched together. Did we watch together first?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I love that, again, that sort of citywide or planet-wide city, the verticality of everything, seeing what people were humanity crammed into this big space.
And one thing I liked in The Fifth Element was the humor that was in it as well, even though things were going bad. And that's where I see Denny. He adds humor to this as well as some of the other characters. Matthias definitely has a different way of looking at life, and he puts his joy in there in a different way. And so that's why each of the characters is so unique with this. I see in the chat room it says number 3, but I'm not sure if that's for this or for another one.
No worries. We'll go with number 3. Let's go with, you really want to know? Would that stop you from acting like this? I think I deserve to know, yeah. And I mean, again, this what I appreciate about these characters is that while they are along for the journey, they do have their own desires, their own wants, and they do push back. They will assert themselves at different times if not only based on their own characters, but if you don't treat them well, if the morale goes down too low, they will push back and make demands as well. So here we'll start to reveal. It's my ex. We're running from my ex. That's it. Your ex? But you're a ship. It's a different kind of X, I suppose. It's complicated. It's always complicated. It's always complicated there. Because it's not that easy. It's complicated. All right then. Listen, boss. I'm sorry. I feel like I've been cooped up on the ship for years. I just want to do something. Anything. I'll find work for you, Denny. I'll find some work for you, Denny. I promise. Denny nods apologetically and returns to the rest of the crew, who all stand gathered by the end of the gangway. All except Ayla, that is, who approaches you. Good job, Captain. You handled that real well. That kid could breathe trouble in a vacuum, but you calmed him down. Showed some real leadership. Tried my best, I suppose. Good enough. Now come on, we've got a job to do. We do. Get to it and get it done quick. We shouldn't stay here longer than we have to. While some go find the contact, the rest should put themselves to work. We need the supplies. You got it.
Yeah, Ayla is very matter-of-fact about Denny, but she does like to mother him a little bit. And but she is very matter-of-fact and with the rest of the crew as well. And that's one of the characters I like about her. With, as I said earlier, being the mom of 3 sons, they definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone. And they were all in Boy Scouts, so I had to learn a lot about Boy Scouts. I was a merit badge counselor for over 15 years, and I found that I had to do this, like Ayla was doing with Denny, like be very matter-of-fact and like, yeah, you have to do the work if you want to do this. And I use that with my students as well. And I always ask my students every year, what do you want to do after high school? And then I ask them, what can you do now to help you reach that goal? So like with Kylan at age 10, he wanted to be a cartoonist, but he couldn't just sit there and say, well, I want to do this. Like he had to practice, he had to draw, which he did. He drew on everything. And I was able to save quite a few of his drawings, but a lot of them were on like bulletins from the church or menus, the paper menus or whatever. So those didn't survive as well. But I do believe that kids now enjoy video games. They love it, but they also need to know if you want to make a video game, there's work involved and you have to do that. And I just think that's part of educating younger children, and younger kids that, yeah, you can reach your goal, but you have to work for it, which is definitely what Kylan has done. I will have to brag on him. I'm his mom, so I can do that. And but yeah, he was able to set a goal and to do that. And his dad and I are very, very proud of him. I see a questions popped up, Kylan. What is that?
So I think it says, what unique strengths has your role as a mother in game development brought to the table? And I think you started getting to that a little bit of just your experience motivating and yeah.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I read almost all the time. In fact, when we were on summer vacation with my boys, they would have to say, Mom, come on, it's time. You need to feed us. And I'd like, just one more chapter. And that's you said that an hour ago. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I would have to stop reading and feed the kids. That was important. But I just think
priorities,
Yeah. Well, basically, I say that they're all grown, they're all working, so they survived. But also, they pushed me out of my comfort zone. I would not have chosen to learn about merit badges and Boy Scouts and soccer and video games. That would not have been my choice. I would have been happy with my books, playing Scrabble, doing word games, but they pushed me out of it. But I just think encouraging my sons to reach their potential is something I do every day with my students as well as my sons. Like they definitely, if you set your mind to it, you can do it. But even if you fail, you're going to learn from that. And for a few years, I was a robotics mentor. I worked with kids that were very, very smart and built robots, but they needed to be able to communicate. Like, you can build a robot, but if you can't tell someone what you did, it kind of falls short. So I always told my robotics students that you need to be able to stand up straight, look someone in the eye, and communicate your thoughts, because one day you will have to do that. And I did have the privilege of getting emails back and personal accounts of, Miss Sherry, when I was at college, I heard your voice in my head. Stand up straight. You can do this and all. So I believe that with anyone, no matter what their background or how old they are and all. I just really feel that. But I will have to say, the positivity does come from my mom, that my boys call Gran. She is so positive, and she is 91 and going strong. So it definitely comes from her. But I do believe it's a choice. You have to choose. Are you going to be joyful, or are you going to sit back and go, poor me, poor me? And I hope, I taught the boys, hey, choose joy. You can do that.
So I think we actually had someone give a call out. Hey, Miss Sherry. I don't know if that was a former student or work colleague or somebody.
Yeah.
You're a streaming star. Have your fans calling you out.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I do want to plug our Kickstarter again. We do have our Kickstarter that's live right now. We're over 50% of the way there. And if you like the game, like hearing us working on the game, some of the devs working on the game, please check out the Kickstarter. You can play the demo that we're showing right now, and back us if you're able to.
I did want to point out what you're seeing now. These are some of the different jobs that was created, and at different levels. And even after you play the demo one time, you might want to go back and choose different people for the jobs, and that gives it a totally different perspective. I did see something pop in. It is some people from one of my schools, so they are watching us as well. So
there you go. To the question before of the sort of the unique strengths that you bring to game development. One of the issues that I've seen in the gaming industry, there's a bit of an ageism issue. So I mean, I'm 30, something. But oftentimes, I mean, I'm sometimes seen as like too old, or towards the end of my career span, because I'm just in that age group. So there's oftentimes, because of working conditions or just general culture pushing people beyond a certain age out, we don't get that sort of life experience from people who and the wisdom from people who are older than me. So something to have you on the team, again, with that experience, just the straight up life experience, I think brings that extra quality. Some of our characters are older. I mean, we talked about Ayla a bit as this kind of gruff, maternalistic character who we have up here. So we can write Ayla. There was definitely a lot of inspiration for Ayla from older people, more mentor-like people from my life. But having someone not with a similar life experience as Ayla, I think you character-wise, you are younger than Ayla in the universe. But again, from that perspective.
Yeah, and that's what I have enjoyed, excuse me, about this game, is that you do have a younger character on there like Denny, and even Zeke is in her early 30s. But then you have Ayla, and she has this experience, but she does have a very matter-of-fact type of life viewpoint. And that is one thing that I have seen since Kylan first started playing video games. Oh, and he is the oldest of the three boys, so I always tease him. I practiced on him first, and but yeah, with video games, yeah. So he wasn't always patient with me when I didn't understand how to follow the rules of the video game. And I did notice there were not many older characters in it. And I did finally learn how to play some of the games. But, I'm glad that Kylan was able to give such a variety of characters and their backgrounds as well as their age range. I'm also glad that the video game industry is recognizing this, that everyone does not look the same. And that's what makes the world go round, is the variety of people and characters. And I've definitely learned that. And not to put people in a box and assume that, hey, she grew up in Mississippi and only eats fried catfish. Well, I eat more than that, even though that's my favorite. But just don't assume someone can't do anything or can't look at something a certain way, because I've just found, especially working on this game, A Long Journey to an Uncertain End, my viewpoint has definitely changed. I had no idea to look at it like this. And when you create a planet, there's a lot of things going on there, and you think you know about creating a planet or how you want a planet, but when you have to get down to the nitty gritty, it's a lot involved. And that was the other thing. I just wanted to have a shout out to the narrative team. They have all worked so hard with this and have definitely encouraged me and pulled me along the way. And some of their editing was a little tough because I get very, I really like those words. And until I realized, oh, I did use alliteration again and again. So, but that is my day job, teaching sounds to kids. Teaching phonemes is one of the ways that I help children communicate. But I didn't realize it flowed over into my writing as well. So they were very patient with that.
I know that was, and again, for one, I'd say just having someone in the room, having someone being a part of the conversation, that there's value added there. Because you can say something, your voice can be heard just by having you in our narrative sync ups. I mean, you do create stuff, you do write things that get into the game and you contribute in the game. But also just having you be part of those meetings, again, having that voice in the room. I know it's talked about a lot for making diverse characters, again, in the LGBTQIA plus space, but having someone with more life experience in the room to say things, to say, hey, maybe this, maybe don't say that, or that doesn't really make sense to me. That adds value to the stories that we're telling. And I think it adds, I hate to say flavor, authenticity. It adds more authenticity, I think, to the characters and stories that we're telling. For the thing you kind of alluded to a little bit, something that, again, I hadn't expected, and it's something I never thought of until we sort of started seeing it. But we did have, in some of the planetary intros, there was just the alliteration of okay, we've had 3 to 4 words all alliterate together twice in this thing already. It's starting to sound a little Dr. Seuss-ish. And then, but it made sense because you're trying to get kids to say these syllables.
Yeah.
These notes. So that's second nature to you.
It was. Didn't even realize it. I did want to say with my day job as a speech pathologist, I do work on a lot of articulation errors. And this is when a student says W for R. So they say wabbit instead of rabbit. So I do a lot of R words and didn't realize I was doing as many in my writing. The other thing I do is I do help students communicate in any way possible. I have students that are on devices that help them communicate, as well as I have some students that use sign language or pictures called PECs to communicate. But I just want to help the students in any way I can communicate in their environment. But I also want them to be empowered to be able to communicate, and not just communicate their wants and needs, but their feelings as well, because that's very important. Whether a person is disabled or not, for them to be able to communicate when they're happy, sad, mad, glad, Yeah, see, I did it again. I started in the rhyming there. Sorry. It just comes out. But we do want them to be able to do that. And I think with video games, it is a way for people that may not want to have a conversation with each other, but if they're playing a game together, they can talk about the game, and then sometimes it opens up other, other conversations. And also video games, I never thought I would say it, because I wanted to do away with video games because it was very frustrating as the mom of 3 sons, because it was like, just let me get to this level. And I'm like, I just said that about reading. Let me get to the next chapter. So that kind of thing. But I am able to tell my parents when they complain about their kids playing video games, I'm like, hey, encourage them. I've got 2 sons that are working in the video game industry. They're doing great. And then they go, really? And I'm like, yeah, but guide them. We want the positive aspects of this. But I did want to say, when you play through the demo, you might want to play through it and do only like the first choice for everything, and then go to the second, or you may want to change it up and then see what your results are, because you can have a different result every time. But don't get discouraged if you get fail or bad, because like Kylan said earlier, you have those favors to call in.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and I mean, it's interesting talking about communication, different ways of communicating, and again, your background and experience in exploring that and showing that, because in this game we have a variety of characters, a variety of crew members who have their own, may have different ways of wanting to communicate as well. Zeke, huge chef, huge cook, kind of puts up maybe a little bit of barriers or redirects things if you try to get too close, and tries to be like, well, let's focus on cooking. Let me just cook for everybody, provide for everybody, like that. She may need a different way of approaching her, of talking to her, as opposed to someone who is so matter of fact, like Ayla, or someone who maybe deflect with humor, like Denny. So again, your professional background and just your life background, being a mother of 3 children who have, quite different perspectives on life sometimes, and being able to work with all of us and communicate with all of us, that you bring that to our narrative sync-ups, you bring that to the writing that you do. And that's why I am excited to have you on the team, to be a part of the team and contributing in that way, to have that, just that different perspective. I know we're getting near the end. We still have about, I think, 7 more minutes. But I just wanted to say one more time real quick, we are on Kickstarter. We're over 50, I think it's like 52% of the way there. We still have, I think, a week and a half left. Or maybe anyways, there's still more time left. Please check us out. If you like what you see, if you like what you hear from the team, you can play the demo, back us if you're able to. We're really excited about this game and getting it made.
Yes, I do want to point out that the character Matthias, he does like to add song to some of his responses, and he looks at it like that. And then, of course, another favorite character I have is Corgi, because Corgi is looks like my grand dog, and so Corgi is, matter of fact in a different way. But I did just want to say again, before we run out of time, how much fun this has been. It is work. It is a lot of work, and it is after my day job, so I am tired at the end of the day. But it has been a lot of fun, and it's just opened up all kinds of avenues, and just I've learned even more vocabulary, and please play this A Long Journey to an Uncertain End. I think you'll enjoy the demo, and then back us on Kickstarter so you can get to see more of the game, because we have a lot of ideas out there, and I was told I had to hold on to those ideas, not quite ready for it. So we definitely want to put that into play.
Well, and I mean, you mentioned talking to your students, and again, now you have a bit of the what's the word I'm looking for? Well, you have the experience of being involved in the game development. So when your kids come and when your students come and say like, hey, well, I want to make games, you can tell them, hey, like you can totally do it.
Right.
But making games is different from playing games, and this is where you'll need to go down. So if it's artistic, you've kind of you've already laid a path out for me to get on the creative side, so you can point them in that direction. But then also, if someone wants to get in more on the programming feature side or on the audio side, you can have, if you don't have a direction, you at least have someone you can say like, I can ask how, what would be a good direction to get there. Which is always exciting to me to enable and empower people to create really awesome, unique experiences.
Yeah, and don't forget about Discord. I believe if they join Discord, they can talk more about the game, learn more about the game.
Yes, we have our Discord channel going, where you can give us feedback on the demo, if any bugs you find, but also we have a sci-fi book club channel, which is really I love. There's a pet picture channel where you can see more pictures, not only of the authentic corgi or the original inspiration for corgi, but everybody else's great pictures from their pets. We're very the dev team is a pretty pet heavy group. I think.
Yeah.
I think almost everybody has a pet. So which I just thought about that. There's a lot of pets in our dev group. So cool. All right, so we have a few.
I was going to say, where are the recipes posted? The Long Journey recipes.
So we have recipes on Twitter.
Twitter, yes.
And that's I should have brought that up. That you actually put together those recipes.
Yeah, as I said before, I love to bake and everything, and so this is a unique way to look at recipes from a science fiction point of view. And the recipes are also on Facebook and Instagram, and they have been for the latest holidays, and look forward to more coming up in March. But yeah, just join us on Discord, and please back us on Kickstarter. And because I want to continue, I have a lot more ideas now that I kind of know what I'm supposed to be doing. So I want to put those into play.
I know we are looking to take a lot, if not all, the recipes that we've been putting together and including them in our crew journal / art book, which is a reward on Kickstarter. So putting those into Zeke's sort of section. And I think we're also looking at including some authentic recipes from Antzeek, actually.
We're working on that as well.
So again, all this stuff we pull from a lot of fairly personal backgrounds and experiences, and I feel like that adds authenticity to the stories and the characters that you interact with in the game, which is fun, which is cool, and again, it lets these people sort of live on as well in different mediums. Which is kind of unique, which is kind of cool. If you are interested, we actually have some backer tiers where you can become a character. You can have get your name dropped in the game, or even help us design jobs, design whole worlds, all kinds of really cool stuff. So cool. So I think we have less than a minute left.
Check it out.
Yeah, check it out. Again, check us out on Kickstarter. Check us out on Steam. Wishlist us on Steam. Back us on Kickstarter, Facebook, Instagram. People are already following us on Twitch. I think we're going to do actually an Ask Me Anything on Reddit on Monday. If people want to check us out there, we'll post more about that on social media. So thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you, guys.